After writing down the Zarathustrian laws, Zarathustra selected 50 learned and vigorous men to accompany him as he traveled to the distant lands of China, India, Egypt, and North Africa. These companions were entrusted with helping him spread the Creator's wisdom across the world. Zarathustra shared his mission with them, telling them that he was duty-bound to deliver the Zarathustrian law to all people before returning to his birthplace of Oas, where a great upheaval awaited. In one of the first cities they visited, a large metropolis surrounded by high walls of wood and stone, Zarathustra demanded an audience with the king. He declared himself a servant of the Creator and offered to prove the reality of immortal life. The king, intrigued, agreed to meet him and asked why he had come. Zarathustra condemned the king's arrogance, accusing him of valuing riches and warfare over peace. He spoke on behalf of the innocent lives lost in battle and the suffering spirits trapped on earth due to violence. As Zarathustra spoke, angelic beings appeared, visible to the king and his family. Terrified, the king raised his sword, but the angels vanished before his eyes. Zarathustra explained that spirits are always present, though usually unseen, and the angels had merely revealed themselves in mortal form. To further prove divine power, the angels caused the room's tapestry to fall with a loud crash, scaring the queen and her daughters. Angered, the king tried to strike Zarathustra, but his sword shattered without harming him. Zarathustra warned the king that if he did not repent, his palace would be destroyed by morning. The king refused, and as Zarathustra foretold, the palace fell during an enemy siege that night. The next day, Zarathustra continued preaching, gaining 1,000 followers. Despite the king's decree that anyone who killed Zarathustra would be rewarded, he continued to teach and perform miracles, attracting even more people. The king, enraged, sent soldiers to kill Zarathustra, but divine fire surrounded Zarathustra and his followers, forcing the soldiers to flee. He led his people safely away from the city, and tales of his miracles spread far and wide. Zarathustra knew that the people recently freed from the king's rule might seek vengeance on their former oppressors, so he instructed his 50 companions to guide them away from the city. He advised them to divide the people into groups, assuring them that angels would help translate languages and guide their journey. These liberated people would be taught the Creator's laws and a simple, peaceful way of life, free from violence. Under Zarathustra's direction, his companions led the people a half-day's journey from the city and established a new settlement. Miraculously, Zarathustra's companions found they could understand and speak the languages of the different groups. They taught prayers, songs and dances to honor the Creator, and they built altars where the people could worship. Zarathustra instructed them to take an oath of peace, vowing not to harm any living creature. He then returned to the city, protected by divine fire and clouds, which prevented anyone from attacking him. He ordered the people to gather all the symbols of violence, skulls and scalps displayed in the city, and burn them. As the king's power dissolved, the city fell into chaos, and the inhabitants began to leave in large numbers to seek new lives. After Zarathustra's departure, the city fell into ruin. Dark spirits incited wild tribes to plunder and burn the city, reducing its temples and palaces to ashes. Zarathustra spoke to a vast assembly, explaining that those who place material wealth above spiritual values will ultimately suffer. He taught that the spirits of the slain had haunted the city, influencing people to commit evil deeds. Zarathustra instructed the people to burn or bury the dead so their spirits could ascend to heaven, freeing the city from its dark influence. In the aftermath of the city's destruction, many were left homeless and hungry. Zarathustra, now known as the All-Pure, saw this disaster as an opportunity for the people to turn towards spiritual treasures. He gathered thousands in a crescent-shaped formation and, flanked by his companions, sang a song of praise to the Creator that he had learned from the Ihins. As he prayed, fish, fruit, grains and roots miraculously fell from the sky, providing food for the crowd of more than 30,000 for 3 days. Zarathustra taught the people that there are 2 types of spirits, those bound to the earth and those who serve the Creator. He urged them to abandon violence and live in harmony with all creatures, eating only fruits, grains and fish without blood. He introduced a morning prayer to honor the Creator, encouraging people to live with gratitude, compassion, and self-awareness. To mark their commitment, Zarathustra created a symbolic wheel called the Altar of the Creator. He instructed the people to place the wheel between the horns of the crescent, signifying its sacredness. Each person renewed their vow to uphold the Creator's laws by turning the wheel, symbolizing their dedication. Zarathustra commanded that similar wheels be placed at crossroads so travelers could renew their commitment to the Creator as they journeyed. As Zarathustra and his followers prepared to spread the Creator's laws further, he instructed them to return to their homelands and spread the word to their people. Thus, the Zarathustrian faith began to expand across the world, leading many to embrace a new way of life, focused on peace, devotion, and reverence for the Creator's will.